So this is the continuation of week 9 Thursday's homework assignment. So we're going to start off with question number 23. Our goal here is to get t by itself. So we're going to be solving for that. If you take a look at everything on the left side of the equal sign, you got to ask yourself, are you able to combine anything? So combine like terms on the left side. And I see here that you have 1/2 and a -1. Those are the two that doesn't have a letter associated with it. So you have to combine that. This is going to be a 1 out of 1, and then your lowest common denominator is going to be a 2. So multiply this by 2. That'll give you a 2. That'll give you a 2. 1 minus 2 is a -1/2. So this right here, when you combine it, is a -1/2 plus 2/5t equals, take a look on the right side. On the right side, you can also combine like terms. And you can combine these two because they both have t's. So 1/5t plus 1t. So 1/5t plus 1/1t. In this situation, your lowest common denominator is 5. So that becomes a 5, that becomes a 5 because you're multiplying by 5s. So 1 plus 5 gives you a 6, 5/5t. So on the left side, this then becomes 6/5t. Right there. Number 3, step 3. Your goal is to go ahead and move the t's together. You always want to move the smallest letter. So the smallest t is going to be 2/5. That's a smaller t. So minus 2/5t minus 2/5t. That cancels. Bring down the -1/2. On the side, 6/5 minus 2/5 equals 4/5. Your last step is you want to multiply by the reciprocal, which is you flipping the 4/5, which is a 5/4 on the right side and 5/4 on the left side. So when that happens, the 4 cancels, the 5 cancels. T is now by itself, which is a -5/8. And that is your answer for this question here. So just to summarize this one more time, first thing that you're going to do is you combine like terms. So the 1/2 and the -1, combine them together. On the right side, you have two different ones with t's, two different terms with t's, combine them together. Once you get to this point here, notice you have -1/2 plus 2/5t equals 6/5t. So your goal is to solve for t. Since there's a t on the left side, that's a smaller one. You move it over to the right side by subtracting it. And then once you get to this part, -1/2 equals 4/5t. You got to get rid of the 4/5 on the t, which means you multiply by the reciprocal. So then this is your answer. Number 23. Number 1, combine like term on the left side. On the left side, I see that I have a 2/3 and a -2. You can combine that. You want to do this on the side so you have a little bit more room. So you have 2/3 minus 2/1. Your lowest common denominator here is a 3. So 1 times 3 is a 3, 2 times 3 is a 6. When you subtract it, it's a -4/3. So I'm going to rewrite this as 1/5m minus 4/3 equals. Step 2, can you combine like terms anything on the right side? On the right side, there's only an m and then a number. So there's nothing for you to combine. So it's just m minus 2/5. Now, notice how you have m on both sides. So you have to move the smallest m. And the smallest m in this case, you have a 1m and a 1/5m. 1/5m is smaller. So you need to subtract 1/5m on both sides. Draw your line. That part cancels because you're canceling that. Bring down the negative 4 over 3. On the right side, you have a 1m minus 1 over 5m. So 1m minus 1 over 5m. This 1 is out of 1. You know your lowest common denominator is going to be 5. So that becomes a 5. Numerator becomes a 5. 5 minus 1 is 4 over 5m. So 4 over 5m minus 2/5. So don't forget that. Bring that 2/5 down. Okay? This is your third step. Your fourth step is going to involve, since you only have 1m now, you got to move the negative 2 over 5 to the left side. Opposite of a negative 2 over 5 is a positive 2 over 5. So then at this point, 2 over 5 minus 2 over 5 cancels. So you're going to work on this on the side here. On the left, you have a negative 4 over 3 plus 2 over 5. You need to find the lowest common denominator for that, which is going to be 15. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 3 is negative 12. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative 6 over 15. So you know this part here is a negative 6 over 15. Equals 4 over 5m. Last step, step number 5. How do you get rid of the 4 over 5 with the m? Because the m is now by itself. You multiply by the reciprocal, which is 5 over 4. On the right side, 5 over 4 on the left side. That part cancels. M equals. If I take a look at this, I notice that 3 and 4 are both even. So I know I can change that to a negative 3 and a 2 because you're dividing by 2, top and bottom. 5 and 15, I know I can divide it by 5, which then becomes a 1 and a 3. So 1 times negative 3 is a negative 3. 2 times 3 is a 6. I can reduce this to a negative 1/2. And that is your answer. For number 24, we're going to do this on a separate one because I'm running out of space. Okay, so for number 24, step number 1, you want to ask yourself, can I combine like terms on the left side? Well, on the left side, there's only a w and number, so there's nothing for you to combine. Can you combine like terms on the right side? It's just w and a number, so you can't really combine anything there. For number 3, step 3, you always want to move the smallest letter or the variable. So in this case, it's the negative 1 over 4w. Opposite of a negative is a positive. So I'm going to add 1 over 4w on the left side. And we're going to add 1 over 4w on the right side. And notice how I put it under the w because we're combining the letters. When you do that, that part cancels. You bring down the negative 3. On the side here, you're going to do 1w. It's 1 over 1w, which is this one right here, plus 1 over 4w. Lowest common denominator is 4. That becomes a 4. That becomes a 4. 5 over 4w is what you have. Bring down the 1/3. Next step is you want to move the positive 1/3. So opposite of a positive 1/3 is a negative 1/3. That part cancels. 5/4W equals, you need to combine this on the side. So -1/3 minus 3/1. Your lowest common denominator here is a 3. 1 times 3 is a 3. 3 times 3 is a 9. So that becomes a -10/3. Next step is you want to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal to get the W by itself. So if you flip that over, it's 4/5. So then from there, you should see that you should be able to cancel the 4/5 times the 5/4. So W is by itself. I also noticed that the 5 and the 10, you can reduce before you multiply. If you divide it by 5, 5 divided by 5 is 1. -10 divided by 5 is a -2. So then when I multiply this, I get a -8/3, which if you write it as a proper fraction, is a -2 2/3 for W. And that's your answer for number 24. Okay, for number 25. So let's go over the steps. Step number 1. Can you combine like terms on the left side? I'll put a question mark here. When I look at the left side, I see there's an X and there's a number. So these are two terms, you can combine them because one has an X, the other one is just a number. Can you combine like terms on the right side? If you look at the right side, again, it's just a number 18.24 and then a term with a variable 5.9x. So there's nothing to combine, so you can't do that. Step number 3, you always want to move the smallest x. Which one has a smaller x? So in this case, it is -5.9 is a smaller one. What's opposite of that? Plus 5.9x. That part cancels. Bring down the 18.24. Bring down the 0.8. 3.5 plus 5.9. You can do this on the side. Is going to be a 9.4x. Step number 4. Now that you have x's combined together, make sure you put a plus right there. Which decimal do you need to move? You want to move the positive 0.8. Opposite of that is a negative 0.8. So minus 0.8 on both sides. When you do that, that part cancels. Bring down the 9.4x. You can do the work on the side. So 18.24 minus 0.80. So if you take a look at this, 4 minus 0 is a 4. 2 cannot minus the 8. So you're going to borrow from this 8, makes that a 7. That becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 is a 4. And then you just bring down 17. So your answer is 17.44. Now, step number 5. You're going to go ahead and divide by 9.4 on both sides. So that way you can get x by itself. That part cancel, x is equal to, and you want to do this on the side, 17.44 divided by 9.4. You remember how to divide by decimals? Remember, you move one to the right, one to the right. your answer should give you a 1.855. And you can stop after 3 decimals. That is your answer. For number 26, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this on the side because we're running out of space. Actually, I'm going to have you try this on your own. I'm going to give you the steps. You try it, and if you can't figure it out, you can watch the video and we'll go over it later. Step number 1. Can you combine anything on the left side? Question mark. Do you need to combine anything on the right side? Question mark. Go ahead and get started with that. Give it a try. Yeah. Go figure. For number 26, can't combine anything on the left side, can't combine anything on the right side. Step number 3, move the smallest variable. Which one is that? 0.3x. The opposite of that would be minus 0.3x on the left side, minus 0.3x on the right side. You need to make sure you line everything up like the x's with the x's. Bring down the negative 0.24 equals 0.36. Plus, you can work this on the side, 0.53 or 0.52. Nope, you don't get to sit over there and not do anything. You need to go ahead and tell me what this is. What is 0.52 minus 0.3? Positive or negative? So then, what am I going to move next? Since I only have x's now, on one side, what do I move next? So what's opposite of that? On the left side and the right side. What do you get on the left side? What is that? 0.24 minus 0.36. Next step, step number 5. Divide by what? What is your answer going to be, positive or negative? Your answer is going to be a negative, so don't forget that. So x is equal to something that's a negative. Well, 0.60 divided by 0.22. Divide it. What is that going to give you? I need you to stop that, please. And that concludes our lesson. No,